Hello my people, welcome to another very big edition of Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. It is exciting times here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. It has been a couple of days of the African Cup of Nations. The second round of games is ending. They're going to be the third round of games, and it is crucial. The fight for even third place, best place side has been very contentious. There are a lot of teams that are hoping to go through it, that's including Ghana. There are names like even the host nation, Ivory Coast. There is Zambia, there may be South Africa in the conversation, there is Tunisia, there may be Algeria also in the offing. All of these teams are hoping to qualify in a third place, and it tells you the competitiveness of the African Cup of Nations. If you are just a group of players from Europe thinking that you can come together and then win African Cup of Nations, then you lie about it. It is a tough, difficult game in there. Yesterday, one of the best games thus far in African Cup of Nations was that one against Mauritania and then Angola, sorry. It was a brilliant game. In fact, it was the game that people talk legs about, because of course there was Algeria versus Burkina Faso and there was Tunisia versus Mali later in the day. But really, the one that had a lot of talking points after the game was the one that went up around 6 p.m. local time here in Ghana. Really, it was an exciting game of football. Yes, the Angolans were able to win by 3-2, but what a job that the Mauritanians have been doing. If you know the history of Mauritania, it's a country that has one of the 5 countries in the world, the very scarce population, of course, because of issues of their weather and what's not. But it is a small country in Africa that has less population. A lot of the people in Mauritania have moved close to the only source of river, natural source of river in the country. So it's a tough country. It's a country where things are not regular. But back-to-back qualifications to the Afcon, playing exciting, proper football, the African Cup of Nations. It tells you that anywhere possible, anywhere it's possible to play some good football, the good game, the game of love and everything can be seen. And yesterday, Mauritania showed that they are no pushovers on the African continent. Yesterday against Angola, they were brilliant. And we are going into the last round of games. We'll talk about African Cup of Nations, like I've already given you a preview of. We'll speak about Manchester United appointing of Omar Berrada, former COO, Chief Operating Officer of the City Group of Companies, Manchester City, and then now the Chief Executive Officer of Manchester United Football Club. We'll speak about the roles at Man City and the role at Manchester United. Then we'll juxtapose the two. Why was he brought in? Who brought him in? Is it just the Glazers? Is it Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos? Why did they bring him in? What are some of the things that he has said? What is some of the marks of his work that shows that he's a top prospect for Manchester United? So we'll talk about all of those stuff. We'll talk about every other thing in there. Of course, from the Chelsea front as well, there is a lot of news going on, and it's the fact that Karim Mustafa Benzema has issues with Saudi authorities. Of course, Al Ittihad as well, and then it looks as if he may believe it. He's unhappy in Saudi Arabia. I'll tell you why the relationship between Karim Mustafa Benzema and then Saudi Arabia have deteriorated since the beginning of the Israel's war on Gaza. I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you why for Karim Mustafa Benzema, he hasn't returned to training for Al Ittihad. But then it looks as if it is not also going to fit at Chelsea. I'll tell you what, I do not agree of a Karim Mustafa Benzema to Chelsea deal. I think that it is not the kind of deal that Chelsea needs actually at this time. But we'll talk into detail. We'll do the analysis here. So stick and stay. Apart from that, there's news about Mando Broya. Slight preview of the game against Nottingham Forest. The games going on today on Sunday, some betting tips as well. So stick and stay with me here on Fiifi-Manfred. My name is Fiifi-Manfred. Like you always do, if you're not subscribed to the channel, give it a pause, go back, subscribe to the channel. This is Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. I want to hear from you. So of course, in the comment section, do you think that Karim Mustafa Benzema is the kind of player that Chelsea needs at this point in time? Do you think that teams like Mauritania and the small countries can go on and win the African Cup of Nations? Finally, do you also think that Omar Berrada can make any change at Manchester United? Is it structural change that they need? Or maybe this is the first and key cog to the all-important structural change that we've all been drumming home. So let us get straight into it and start rambling in the African Cup of Nations and everything that you have to talk about in there. We'll start with the African Cup of Nations first off. I'll give you some news that's going on with the African Cup of Nations. Then we'll move on into the various games of the competition. First of all, so yesterday, at the end of the day, after the brilliant games that we saw, we didn't hear good news. And the sad news is that Senegal's manager Aliou Cisse, who has seen his team win 2 games, who has been at the helm for 9 years, former captain of the Lions of Teranga, the Senegalese national team. He is the holding African coach that's with the last Afcon and every other thing. Yesterday he was rushed to the hospital. He's sick. Yesterday a lot of Senegalese outlets are reporting that he's in critical condition, but it looks as if he's recovering well and he's doing a brilliant stuff. And I've said that, hey, Aliou Cisse has done a brilliant job. I like the fact that I don't know if you follow Italy so much. Gianluca Vialli and then Mancini were together in Sampdoria. They won Sampdoria's only Scudetto, and they came to play for the Azores of Italy. When Mancini became the coach of the Azores in that Euro run where they went on to win, he asked for Mancini, his best friend. He thinks that with Mancini, he doesn't necessarily have to be a tactical brain. He doesn't have to bring so much. He just has to be the guy that keeps him in shape. And I think Aliou Cisse has that bond with Diop. For a kind of player that had the things around him like it did when he was playing. He has been very instrumental to the Senegalese national team as a liaison, as somebody that blends into both technical team and then the coaches and tries to help both sides of the team. So it has been a brilliant stuff. Aliou Cisse is just not feeling well. We are hoping here that very soon Aliou Cisse will be back into the dugout for their last game. Yes, they've qualified, but of course they will need their title. We need coach in there. Yesterday, we start from the 8 p.m. game. Mali played a crucial encounter with Tunisia. It was an exciting game. The Tunisians were solid, right? So the Tunisians sat back, and it was typical Tunisia football, typical North African football when they lack quality. And I like the North Africans when they lack quality. Pure haram ball, sit at the back, soak the pressure, kick on the counter attack, be very aggressive up front. And that's what they did. The Malians dictated the pace of the game, but the Tunisians were so efficient. They ended in a 1-1 draw. I think the Malians will go into the final game knowing that, hey, in that last game that we played, we won against South Africa. In this game where we against Tunisia, we've drawn. We need to go into the next game knowing that we need to go ahead and win. South Africa will play its last game against Namibia. So, I mean, it's a Kosafa derby in there, and that's it. But I tell you, the third place games, the best third place run is going to be very, very exciting in the last game day for every other one. I'll run you through all of them in there. Yesterday in the Mali Tunisia one, there was a Ghanaian interest. Ghanaian referee Daniel Laye was the center referee. It's the first time a Ghanaian referee has been in the center referee in this Afcon, and I think that's great news for Ghana and its football, given everything that it has gone through with respect to the game and after the Anas expose. So that was it yesterday, but hey, what a game it was yesterday. Mauritania versus Angola. Brilliant game. I mean, anyhow you look at it, solidity at the back, excellent football, pure proper patterns, everything that you look into games yesterday. And I've seen the Angolans play, however, this time was better. The Mauritanians took it to them, but still the Angolans really showed that they had their mettle. They won by 3-2, and it is exciting. 5 goals in that trailer. That was something that you could never expect from such a game. And I am excited that they are playing some good football in there for the African Cup of Nations and everything that's going on. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see exactly how it goes in the next round of games. But before that also, there was another one between Algeria and Burkina Faso. Hey, Burkina Faso, top team. Burkina Faso went into this team, yeah? And their main marksman, Bertrand Traoré, was on the bench. That's the kind of balls coaches on the continent have. They don't care about the names that you have. It's about the team essentially. Burkina Faso went into this game. Bertrand Traoré, arguably the biggest name in Burkinabe football now, sits on the bench. They use excellent hold-up attackers up front, like Issa Kabore up front. And then they put the tricky of Bertrand Traoré on the bench. Of course, he came on, he played some good stuff for the Burkinabes. And they held on onto the game. They were excellent. But then the Algerians perceived, they persevere, they push. And of course, I mean, see, when we talk about African Cup of Nations honoring names, classic names, the name Baghdad Bonija will never leave. Baghdad Bonija again rose tallest, rose highest, and then headed home an equalizer for Jamel Belmadi's men, Algeria, made it 2-2. So, just after yesterday's set of games, these are the list of teams that may want to qualify for the third place. And I'll go through them for you. Ivory Coast, they have played 2 games. They have 3 points. They have the goal difference of +1. Algeria, they have 2 points. They have goal difference of 0. Zambia, they have 1 point. They have goal difference of 0. Ghana, they have 1 point. They have goal difference of -1. And then, of course, Tunisia, they have 1 point. They have goal difference of -1. But then, of course, they have scored less than Ghana. And then Cameroon, they have 1 point. They have goal difference of -2. That is exactly that's good on as it starts that African Cup of Nations. So there is a lot going on. Some teams are going to cry. Some teams will go home excited after games are gone from tomorrow. So we still can stay with Fiifi-Manfred. We'll preview all the games for you like we're going to do today. So let's go straight into today's preview of the African Cup of Nations. So let's get into it. So today there's going to be a huge game at 2 p.m. First of all, there is the Morocco versus DR Congo game. I told you I trust Morocco. I trust Walid Baghagi's team, and you see, when they play against the big boys in Europe and in the world, they find way in that 4-5-1 solidity and then unleash the likes of Hakim Ziyech outward, use Hakimi as the outlet, and then use their pace to get a job that hurts people and stay in the game as long as possible with Amrabat and the likes. But when they come to the African Cup of Nations, when we meet teams where they believe that they can score them, it is total 4-3-3, total dominance, a lot of triangles from outside to break teams that was sitting in a 4-5-1. They make it very compact, and then they prevent counter-attacks. They have, dueling centre-backs like Roman Saiz at the back, Naef Agoed at the back, and they know that they are settled even from set pieces, and then the strength of the West African side. And it makes me believe that they are going to be part of the 3 teams, that have gotten the 6 points after Cape Verde. There is, of course, Senegal, and then they are also going to get that job done. Yesterday, Mali wasn't able to get a win, so they are still on 4 points in there. And I think that the Moroccans will beat the Congolese today. Masuaku and the likes are a very strong team, but I think that Walid Baghagi's team is stronger, and with the quality that they have in the team, the telepathy, how they play, how they are in sync with each other, I believe that they are going to get a job done later today in the African Cup of Nations. Then, of course, there is a Zambia versus Namibia game, also a Kosafa Classic in there. And given yesterday the game that went on, South Africa versus Tanzania, South Africa versus Namibia, that's a Kosafa Classic, and it is the last game of yesterday's game of Mali and Tunisia. South Africa lost to Mali in the first game. Namibia in that game got to draw. They need to get this one done as well, and I think that's going to be a tough one. I am thinking that South Africa will be able to neck this one. Hugo Bruce's side showed excellent way of playing out from the back, and I think they are one of the teams that in the first round of games played very well. Albeit the Malians had a lot of in-game variations that stopped the South Africans. Yes, the physicality also, and the aggression of the Malians. Anytime the South Africans pressed to the corners, they turned on the Malians. They called in the Malians. They were aggressive with Besuma, Koulibaly, and then of course Amadou Haidara and Aliou Dieng to go in and close in and win the balls, and that's exactly how the Malians were able to undo the South Africans. But it's a Kosafa derby against Namibia. They played against the Namibian side. They know them. Mind you, Namibia won their first game. They played very well in their first game. Namibia played against Ghana here in Kumasi. I did watch them, and that's a game where you would think that, okay, fine, Namibia can hold their own. But I think that in the Kosafa region, South Africa has shown time again they are very tough side, and then they can negotiate. And South Africa needs to win because their last game is going to be against Tunisia. And if Tunisia are going into that game knowing that they need a win or at least a draw, South Africa needs to get all 3 points today. It's a must win for South Africa today. And Hugo Bruce's side are well and aware. Percy Tau, the maximum of that side, and then all of the other South African players know that today is a day that they need to kickstart it and then get the first 3 points for themselves. Of course, I've spoken about the Zambia-Tanzania game. The Tanzanian team is a team that have had not so good news because their manager has been out of the African Cup of Nations. He was banned after making some comments about the Moroccan national team. He's out of it, and then he's Algerian. That's some item of truth in there, I promise you. That's an iota of truth in there. The Moroccan Federation and Morocco, I mean, they have African football in chokehold. I'm telling you the fact. Nobody will tell you. You only hear it on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. That's, they have African football in chokehold. And the things that he said are the truth, but they're just unsubstantiated. He has no evidence to it. So hey, they'll do all of these things and then they'll put him away. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. So today, the amount watching games, the African Cup of Nations, like I've run it through. Now let's get into Europe. There's a lot to discuss. And first off, at Manchester United has a new chief executive officer. And his name is Omar Berrada. Omar Berrada. Top guy. So essentially, we've been speaking over the last few months. If you followed me, and anytime I'm speaking about United, I've said that United issues isn't just about a manager who is inept. It isn't just about players that are willing to play for the badge. But I think that the club has gone through some stages of identical deterioration where, because they lack structure, post Alex Ferguson, they failed to do things right, and that's been ingrained. Now made players lose even the fighting spirit for the club, and the club in itself making some decisions that are so unlike Manchester United. So one of the first things when the Glazers listened to the fans was to, bring in somebody that will be in charge of the sporting part of the job. Of course, I knew that the Glazers were never going to allow a club like Manchester United leave them. See, that is the biggest football brand in the world. Non-traditional like Madrid and then Barca, like owned by just a family or a single person. Biggest. It's a huge brand, and there was no way the Glazers were going to allow it go. So the smartest thing they did was to sell 25% to Sir Jim Ratcliffe of the Glazers shares. When they got the shares, the Class B shares, now he comes in, he's in charge of the sporting directorship. Ratcliffe also knows that with time he can buy more shares if things begin to go. So now the job is to do the job well, get the fans behind you, and then you can push for buying extra shares at Manchester United. And that's exactly what Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to do at the club thus far. Now, his first deal was to meet, of course, the employees of the club. But in the dark, secretly and privately, they had discussions with Omar Berrada, who are here as a Chelsea fan actually. He's a former COO, Chief Operating Officer for Manchester City. And he at the time described his role as uniting the business side of the game and then the footballing side of the game, bringing them together to make it one. And then later, you build on that to see success at both ends. I think he did a really cool job. I hear he was at the forefront of getting Ellen Brote to Manchester City and Ruben Diaz and all of those players that City have had. Now, away from that, the Ineos group spoke to him. He thought that this was a huge challenge. He decided to take it on and then join Manchester United in there. And there is no formal structure approval. So, of course, the Glazers gave the approval. And then, apart from just the footballing experience the Premier League, I hear he has deep commercial and business expertise. And that's why Manchester United want to get him. So, Omar Berrada is the new CEO of Manchester United. I think that is a right step in getting the structures right at United. And maybe this is exactly what they've needed for a very, very, very long time. Now, to the Chelsea bet and then a Chelsea conversation. Let us dig into it. Karim Mustafa Benzema is coming to Chelsea, won't come to Chelsea, may come to Chelsea. What is the news? So, essentially, Benzema is 36, right? French national, but then he has his roots from North Africa. And he's Muslim. One of the contexts that you need to understand in the whole Benzema conversation of the transfer is that Saudi Arabia is the most pro-Western country, Muslim country in the Middle East. So if you've listened to Umar bin Salam, the Saudi crown prince, every time he has been asked what is his model city for Riyadh or any of the Saudi cities, the first thing that he says, Jeddah, first thing that he says is New York. He has never mentioned any other city elsewhere. He mentioned New York. He's specific about that. He wants the nightlife in New York. And I think that for them, they want to westernize the country. Of course, they are one of the United States' few allies in the Middle East. Because they believe that in terms of westernization, they can grow their nation. They can be a bigger player in that part of the world. And there isn't too much of an emphasis on the Islamic part of things, where as an Islam you're supposed to do this, don't wear this, like all of these, all the strict stuff that usually Islam come with. The Saudis are a little bit relaxed in terms of their rules, and it is from the Saudi Crown Prince. Of course, if you follow the Israel-Gaza war and how all of this stuff shaped everything about Karim Mustafa Benzema, he is pro-Palestine. The Saudis are not. The Saudis are in the middle. They decide not to meddle with it. They even censor things on social media that are pro-Palestine in Saudi Arabia here. A lot of the Muslim scholars across the Middle East think that Saudi Arabia is de-Islamizing the country, and then they're trying to take away the Islamic stuff from there. But then Ben Salem has a different thought. He has a different vision. His vision is to grow Jeddah, grow Riyadh, make sure that they become modern cities in Europe, so that the country can enjoy from everything that they do. Of course, the diversification of the economy has been important, adding football. So it's essentially about his love for Palestine, expressing public support for Palestine, and how they do not agree with that. That's brought some fracas between Al Ittihad and then Karim Mustafa Benzema. But yes, Benzema is the kind of player that when he goes to Chelsea at age 36, of course, he may guarantee some goals. I mean, I have my doubt about Benzema and if he can get some goals. He's a proven striker. He has shown it at Real Madrid. He has shown it at every other stage. He won. I mean, he's the current holder of the Ballon d'Or. I mean, the last two holders of the Ballon d'Or. He's a quality player. But again, you look at him at 36 and say, can he do it week in, week out in the English Premier League? There's a little bit of a question there. But then based on pedigree alone, you believe that he's a player that can get a job done. Are Chelsea willing to bring in a 36-year-old just for 6 months, given the wages he takes at Saudi Arabia? Is he the kind of player that when it comes to Chelsea can hit the ground running? So Chelsea just gamble again on a younger talent instead of a proven striker? These are the questions, and you have to find the nuance before you can arrive at a decision for Karim Mustafa Benzema and then everything that's going on in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, but I think that the Saudis are not going to let Karim Mustafa Benzema leave. I've heard this morning that Fabrizio Romano is still saying that the relationship hasn't been settled yet, the fracas hasn't been settled yet, and then he may leave, right? But I still don't think. I think I have to take more because he just joined them in 2023. I mean, it's not even up to a year. At least in the summer, he may be able to leave. But in January, they may not want to make him leave. I mean, it will have a dent on the Saudi league, especially since Henderson has already left. There's Bobby Firmino that may also leave. If Benzema, who is a Muslim and a big name like that, leaves in that fashion, he may not be there. So, yes, he's an excellent player. Yes, he has the quality. Yes, maybe when it comes to Chelsea, he can get a job done. I have my doubts, however. But maybe the Saudis may not even allow him leave. And that's it with Karim Mustafa Benzema and his possible move to Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea would love to have him. Armando Broja has also been looked at for all the other clubs in there. So let's see. Mind you, Chelsea has some great games. Tomorrow we'll do a proper preview of those games for you. The preview of Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest and everything that is to discuss. My name, Fiifi-Manfred. You're on YouTube. I'm grateful as always for your time. I will see you. Bye-bye.